for the city of Indianapolis is because we're divisive ourselves. We haven't come together. This social media stuff amongst ourselves as a community, as a city, we're even divisive on the council. And so the problem is, why do I have to put something together for them to help them? They ain't helping themselves.
That's good.
Come talk to me, people. I don't need you to. I'm going to go and preach by myself.
You preaching?
The importance of a black agenda is so we can be on one accord and to prioritize our issues as a people. We can't get everything done, but we can prioritize and put our top priorities ahead and require that these priorities be addressed. Some of the things I see as a priorities that need to be addressed are small businesses, our black and our small businesses. We need funding and support and resources for them. I mean, that's the foundation of our city and our country. That's what helps revolve and keep the money going around in this country. So that's one of the things. I think mental health for our African American population, I think all but definitely our African American population needs to be addressed. The drug issue for our, when we was on crack, it wasn't no problem. It was a criminal act. When they were selling crack, it was a crime. I mean, but now, they on opioids, and it's an epidemic.
Right.
I got a problem with that. I feel just as bad for those people that's on drugs, but what about, our black people? Move forward. Our housing, economics and housing, that's important. I think that needs to be on the list. So you can't put too much on the list because I can go all day long. We can go back to slavery, and I don't want to sound like that, but we do need to put some items that really socially, economically impact us, especially those social determinants of health. If you look up social determinants of health, put those things on there. I think that's a good start for us for a black agenda for the city and for the state. I know the Black Caucus for the state is putting one together, and they're working on one as we speak. They already have one. I think they're tweaking it. I think even the governor has one, and he's putting one together. I think it's important for the city of Indianapolis to have one. I'm a counselor. I'm speaking for myself as a citizen. I'm speaking for myself as a stakeholder. I'm speaking as myself for a city county councilwoman, but I think it's very important for us as a city to have our own black agenda.
In regards to the black agenda, too, I wanted to ask how important, and maybe it's in you all's agenda, to discuss the welfare of these classrooms in these public schools and how we can maybe have a discussion about teachers. Since we're in these public schools, how teachers can get paid more money, we can make their environments a lot more. Because, for example, when you look at the statistics, black males they're not teachers hardly. It's a lot of black women or just women in general,
white women.
So yeah, exactly, absolutely. So when you look at those statistics, it's really lopsided, and so it's having an effect on
when you have a growing family,
young people, and so. When you talk about the economics of it, you talk about the livelihood of teachers being underpaid and whatnot. That really has an effect. What in your agenda is anybody discussing anything about education? Because it's starting with young people, and this is the product that we're getting from young people, what you see on the streets because they're not educated.
Yes, sir, Brother Muhammad. You're absolutely correct. I think the state is talking about that. Education is a state level.
Right.
So they're addressing that on a state level, I do believe. So we don't address education on a city level.
I'm just more like, how important is it to you all?
Oh, it's very important to me because it's a cliche statement for me. And I'm sure, Councilor Graves, that our children, our youth, and I hate saying this, but we pay more to athletes than we do for the people that are in the classroom with our kids, more than we are in the class.
Right.
They see, our teachers see our children more than we see them. So what I'm saying I agree with what you're saying. I'm saying the policies and how to get it done is done from a state. So what we need to do is push our state legislators to get this done and help push laws and policies to shape what you're saying is what I'm saying. Okay. We're saying the same thing. I'm saying we got to make sure that we hold accountable the people we need to hold accountable.
So on a city-county level, you saying you have no power to even address that?
We can do a special resolution and urge them to do something about it, but the urging, the voice, like y'all hold us accountable for these streets, that's something you hold them accountable for.
So what about
the
power?
BOP has an initiative didn't he start an educational initiative, or there's something on the city county? Because
we did the pre-K and it's going away.
Okay.
So that was my concern, and I ended up originally I voted no for it because what I said, don't start something we won't keep. Everybody got mad. So let's take that money and put it somewhere else. Let's force the state to do what they do, and they got billions of dollars to do education. But when it came back around, people saying, Council, you should do education. I said, I'm for education, but I stay in my lane, and that's not our lane. Why are we outside our lane? But I went on ahead because the optics, see, Indiana is an optics place.
It sure is.
So I got on board. That's what they folks wanted me. You need to get on board, Counselor. I got on board, and I did see the effects, and it did help our babies. The problem was, here we are, 5 years later, and that money we put aside is going away because that is a state education is state funded. So what I'm saying to you again, I ain't getting out of my lane on that. I support it, but on a local level, that's nothing we can enforce on a local level because that's dealing education and what happens in those classrooms is state level. Is what I'm trying to say to you.
So that what about is the power to what would you say to like teachers?
All that state. Anything dealing with classrooms, money, funding, all that, buildings, that's state.
Okay. That was the question that came up.
Whether it's IPS, charter schools, all that is state. Okay. Now, the mayor has responsibility. He has 1 or 2 charter schools.
Yeah, he authorizes.
He authorizes them, but it's still, if you're talking about the enforcement of it, the funding of it, and policies and regulation, that's accountabilities of the state board, Indiana State Board, and that still is state.
Okay.
So your legislators can, again, enforce policy.
Okay.
And control the money.
On the legislature comment, that brings back to what we talked about, people becoming involved. If you want to get involved, attending meetings, attending committee meetings, attending council meetings, that is some of those earlier ground roots level things that you can do to learn what direction the city is going in. But in addition to that, of course, your neighborhood association meetings, because there you can develop your skill as a neighborhood leader, someone who cares, and become known as someone who can really be influential in your community.
So Councilor Grace, not to cut you off, so we only got 20 more minutes left. Why is a Black agenda important to you?
Well,
and then we're going to take a commercial break after you answer.
Again, my specific responsibility and what I've been asked to do is lead District 13, and that's Indianapolis, Far East Side. So my community is my agenda is a Black agenda. So everything that I talk about is regarding my community. That is a Black agenda. But as a city in general, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think it's important that we have our conversation and we get on the same page as much as possible. And Councilor Jackson is right. There are only so many things that we can put in this ask or demand, if you will, whatever word you use. But we put those together. And again, I'm pleased with what I've seen so far, and I want us to continue on that journey where we continue to compile the information that we want to compile, wrap this package up, and say, if you want our vote, then this is what you have to do for us. So that's why a Black agenda is important. I think Indianapolis has matured in 2019 from a political perspective. I believe that the things that I've seen make me proud to be here. Again, I've seen some pushing and shoving, but I know that that's just the early stages of success, and we're going to set ourselves up for success if we continue to have these meetings and move forward with that agenda. But again, being from the city, I understand the challenges for those that have lost their way from high school, want to find their way back into school, someone who's lost their job. It's long been understood that we've been the target of prison, schools of prison pipelines. So we want to make sure that we're, no longer being used for that get rich quick scheme. So those are some of the things that that I hope that our Black agenda presents to our leaders going forward. And what's good about the makeup of our council now is you have representatives like myself and Councilor Jackson who are absolutely in the right place at the right time. Our communities butt up against each other right on the far east side of Indianapolis. Those are two of the areas that absolutely need the voices that we carry. So you have two people who have the capability and just enough fight in them to make a difference where it matters.
Can I say this, though,
you got
for
the
listeners?
church finger. Yep.
I got a church finger. Don't beat up and hold the ones that are accountable that are advocating. You got counselors that's sitting there pushing a button and y'all don't say nothing to. But then you get on Facebook and you beat people up like Counselor Graves and myself, and I don't see you say nothing to the other ones on there. That's not fair. Stop doing that to us.
Yeah, because I want to come right back to that, because the point he just made when he said get on the same page, I want to come right, segue. If we can, I want to address what she had just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. We got to pay some bills, y'all. I got to shout my sponsors out. So you are tuned in to Let's Go There with Cassandra. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
When you have a growing family, other things in your life start getting bigger too, like your home.
Can't wait for the new jack! What?
And especially your bills.
That'll be $249.86.
Oh.
But with Allstate, the amount you can save is getting bigger too. Because right now, when you bundle coverage for your car, home, motorcycle, and more, you can save up to 30%.
Call Adrian Smiley today at 317-228-0707.
Have you ever experienced the stress of dealing with a loved one during a disability, or seen the chaos after the death of someone who's died? Well, Norton Estate Planning and Elder Law Firm specializes in helping guide families through such traumatic events. They're committed to helping individuals create a personalized estate plan that meets their expectations. The firm is comprised of individuals that believe in education, maintenance, and collaboration. They believe that estate planning should focus on providing you with a plan that reflects who you are, maximizes your control during life, protects you and your wishes in the event of a disability, and provides the instructions for carrying out your legacy at your death. If you're in need of wills, trust, power of attorney, guardianship assistance, Medicaid services, or probate administration, contact their office today at 317-572-8696 or visit their website at www.estateplanners.org. Norton Estate Planning and Elder Law Firm is committed to protecting your dignity and securing your legacy.
We are back. You are tuned in to Let's Go There with Cassandra. We are having a awesome conversation with City Councilor Keith Graves and City Councilor Keisha Jackson. Thank you guys so much for taking time off your Saturday. Yes. I know this is huge coming into the election, so I appreciate you guys coming to spend this hour with me. We're going to segue. DJ CJ wanted to say something, so go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Yes, just on the
before
basis,
we move to the next question.
On the basis of building and building bridges, and of course getting rid of those voids and gaps between these races. Brother Keith he made a couple points on the first segment part of this, and he had mentioned we need to get on the same page at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. We're all fighting for the same thing. You know, I know there's a lot of pushing and shoving going on, and like brother was saying, it's going to eventually set us up for success. So what I would like you all to do, and again, it could be quick because I know Cassandra's trying to move the show. What does that look like? Because a lot of people want to know, okay, everybody's racing, but somebody's going to lose. You're going to have winners, you're going to have losers. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, how can we bring this conversation back together so it don't look like we totally divided? Because we know the enemy's winning when we like this. Mm-hmm. And whether we think we got power or not, we know what the real source of power is. So at the end of the day, how do we bring this competition of racing and getting in these offices? How do we put... Because the people see this. So how do you put that in perspective with the people wanting to cast a vote, but it just looked like a bunch of cat and dog fights?
So are you talking about an opponent in around the city districts?
Absolutely. Not really necessarily any specific names or anything.
Right.
I'm saying at the end of the day, we all are fighting for the same social
Yeah.
justice, the clean up neighborhoods, economic development, all of this. We dealing with the same thing. But what does that look like when at the end, when the racing is all over and everybody casts their vote? What does it look like as far as responsibility for leadership?
Yeah, well, I think it's important, just like in any of the races that we've seen on a national level, when someone, the day that the people make the decision on who they want to lead them, then the person who was not selected or elected, they have to concede and they have to give their support. And I think that we need to take that model and give our support to the person who is ultimately elected by the people, because the people speak through the vote. So when they make that decision, those people who are opponents, they sometimes have some different perspectives that are absolutely valuable, and we can take something from it. So in fact, everyone that I've encountered from that community